earrings, wristbands, etc. aren't necessary to play soccer. So don't get your kids' ears pierced right before the start of soccer season.
It's like a person's body. This room is the heart of the house. The walls are like bones. The pipes are veins. It needs to breathe. It needs light and flow. And it all works together to keep us safe inside.
Are we safe, Mommy?
The Haunting of Hill House. All episodes October 12th, now streaming.
When you're selling online, it's exciting to watch the orders flowing. What's not so exciting? Shipping them out. That's why you need ShipStation, the #1 choice of online sellers. ShipStation automatically imports all of your orders into one simple interface, so you can easily create shipping labels for all the top carriers at the lowest rates. Now, try ShipStation free for 30 days. Plus, Spotify listeners get an additional month free. Click on the banner or go to ShipStation.com, click on the microphone, and enter Spotify.
Picture KFC's world-famous extra crispy chicken. Now, imagine it glistening in hot honey sauce. Sweet heat. Now, it's in your sights. Almost there. Oops, this is a KFC radio commercial. But you can make your picture a reality by getting a hot honey tenders basket. KFC, it's finger-licking good. At participating KFC for a limited time. Prices may vary. Tax extra.
Hey, Amanda, how's it going? Whoa. job is done, I can sink. And then we can send them off. And then we'll get together for just a second.
Stylings of Chipotle's savory smoky pork and chicken sauce with yes, chorizo is back at Chipotle, and the ingredients never sound so real. Chipotle for real.
Keep this one under your hat. Come to this month's do-it-herself workshop at the and learn how to make a spooky just in time for Halloween. Our associates will show you standard materials. So hats off to do it yourself, and hats on to a door hanger made from scratch. The Witch Hat Door Hanger Do-It-Herself Workshop, Thursday, October 18th at 6:30 p.m. Register today at homedepot.com/workshops. The Home Depot. More saving, more doing.
Hurry in for up to 40% off major appliance hot deals at JCPenney, including free delivery, basic installation, price match guarantee, and 18 or 30-month special financing on qualifying purchases with your JCPenney credit card. Plus, earn up to $100 JCPenney rewards. JCPenney, style and value for all. Event is valid 9/27 to 10/17. Conditions and exclusions apply. Subject to credit approval. Minimum monthly payments required. Must request at time of purchase. See store or jcp.com/appliances for details.
Joppa, did you already sync?
Not yet.
Go ahead and sync after you finish that up. And let me know when you're done so I can sync it. Just can't. The construction will never stop. I don't know. I feel like it's always going to be something.
Well, at least it looks like matches.
What's that? It's ladders. What was that, Joppa?
At least the paint looks like it matches.
Well, they're using. We had leftover paint from when they built it, so. I think they went and got some new stuff, but they had the RGB mixture on it, so I just hope they're not using that for everybody. Charge them for material selection.
Currently sinking.
Thank you. Just let me know when it's done.
Yeah. Not quite finished with the top thing yet, but it's something there.
Yep.
Okay.
Mostly you're getting prepped for when we get information from the structural engineer on where that's going to go. We may not even need those posts by the time we're done.
Okay, sinking is done.
Thank you. What's that? Well, now I have to wait for the server to unlock it. I think whatever virus protection they have running on the server locks a file for like a minute after every change to do a scan on it.
That sounds fantastic.
Oh my god. It still won't let me sync. That only took 8 minutes, but it finally unlocked it. Let me save.
Love the name on it.
Ooh. All right, you guys have a second real quick? So I want, when we send models to consultants that we're working with, that are workshare or otherwise, we want to make sure we do certain things to prepare them. A couple things that I like to do is unlink everything and remove any imported CAD files. Okay. Now we don't want to save our file that way, so make sure you do a save as and then do all this information.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you're working with a workshare file, when you do a save as, I'm going to do file.
Today.
Yours is a lot quicker than mine.
So I can do a save as.
Okay.
What I want to do before I actually do this is I've already synced. I'm going to go ahead and close the project, and then instead of reopening it from here, and this is all out of consideration of working with people and giving them a clean model. Okay, I'm going to open it, detach from Central, and audit. And this will take it a little bit longer to open, depending on how bad of a shape the model's in. I have the option of, when I'm detaching it, of keeping the work sets and making it a workshare file, or removing the work sets and making it just a local, not even a local file, just a non-workshare file. In this case, we want to keep the work sets because we're using work sets to control different aspects of the model. if we keep the work sets in there, then they can use those work sets also when they open the model to keep layers turned on and off as well. So in larger projects, it's just a consideration for them to be able to open or close those at the time of open. So we want to detach and preserve work sets. Did work sets make sense to you when she went over them, or had you worked with them before?
She went over the work sharing. She didn't go over the work sets.
Oh, okay. Essentially, work sets are another form of a layer, right?
Okay.
When work sharing was first implemented, you divided the work into work sets so that you didn't work on the same thing that she was working on. She didn't work on the same thing you were working on.
Right.
It's evolved to where work sets are almost not even needed because Revit checks individual elements out as you select them and checks it out from the main model and says nobody else can work on it.
Right.
And that's why we had those edit requests. That's why we had those edit requests the other day when we were both working on. She was working on a curtain wall that was posted into a wall, but I was working on the wall that it was posted in. So if I wanted to work on that wall, I had to request permission to work on that wall, and Revit would have unlocked that wall to work on. Sometimes you can just grant permission to work on stuff. Other times the person has to completely sync the central in order to release permission to do that. So when you work on things that are on different work sets, it makes it a little bit easier to divide that work up.
Mm-hmm.
You can also, for instance, put all of your links on one work set. In the case of this, we have all the shell stuff, which is the exterior walls, roof, floors, things like that, on the shell work set. All the interior stuff is on an interior work set, structures on on the structure work set, and so forth.
Okay.
We have I can actually show you real quick. I have cartoon set images, so I brought some JPEGs in for the cartoon set. I put those on that work set. Okay, just for tidiness. I have a datum work set, which is...
How do you move something from one work set to another?
I'll get to that. Datum work set is things like levels and grids. That's usually all I put on that, just levels and grids. Site point, site base point, project base point, those things you can put on there. Then DWGs, I usually have a different work set for each DWG. Right? And the reason that I do that is I can actually go in here and for shell, I can actually close that work set, hit OK, and it'll literally just close that. None of those elements are loaded into the model anymore.
Okay.
They exist in the database, but it is currently not loaded. So it's not taking a RAM, it's not taking a process, it's not.
Okay, that is useful.
Yes. So if you're working on a huge hospital and there's a scope of a project that you're working on, you can pull off everything else and work on just that scope. So it is very useful.
And now you can see why I was just asking you how to move something to another work set. Because that's right there.
Yep. So work sets are just like layers in AutoCAD. It's literally just a parameter. All you have to do is select it, and we'll actually probably put that on shell.
Yeah.
And now it's on that work set.
And there's a brick wall there that also needs to go on shell in the front.
This one right here?
Yep.
There we go. So it's on interior, shell. Now, to pick which work set you're working on, all you have to do is pick the active work set from down here.
Okay.
So if you're going to be working on shell stuff, you pick that, and you're now working on that work set. Sheets have their own work set. Views have their own work set. So you have work sets. These are only user-created work sets. Families have their own work set. So if I click families, you can see that every family type and every family model has its own work set. Okay. Project standards have their own work set. So if I didn't want you guys messing with project units, I could literally lock that work set and you guys wouldn't be able to do anything with project units. I found that useful in the past too. Don't make it useful in this office. Views. Okay, when you draw a detail line, it is on the work set of that view because it's view specific. Dimensions are on the view work set. Annotations are on the view work set. So you can lock annotations that are on a view by locking the work set, or you can close those by unloading those work sets. Typically, this is all you'll see because it's all you really need. So what I'll do is I'll come in and we'll do manage links. I'll remove anything that's linked. I will probably also go ahead and remove our families that we're using for the SketchUp models because if I send them the model, it's going to send them that family, and the SketchUp model is embedded in each of those, so we don't need to be sending them that. They've got that. They can align it however they need to. Yeah, exactly. So I'm going to turn those on. Actually, I don't even need to turn them on. I can just go to families. Generic models. And I'm just going to delete these.
Oh, there's two SketchUp ones?
Yes, there's an existing and a new construction. I'll come back to that in a minute. All right. Aside from that, I also go in and I do purge unused.
That's handy.
And I just check all. I don't care if I'm deleting stuff that we need out of this project because it's not our model. It's just the one we're sending. Okay, again, that's under manage, purge unused. And you can see that there's 1,085 elements that need to be purged. And if you want to have some fun, you can look and see at all the stuff we don't use that's in a model. All right, this reduces file size, and it also reduces chances of errors in transmittal and other things that might be confused for stuff. Now, I've done purge unused, but guess what? It got rid of stuff that things were dependent on. So there's now 230 things that need to be purged. So I hit OK. Unpurge again, 88 things. I actually went up, purge unused, 0. Okay, we're good. Hi.
I ain't invited to the purge. Whose keys?
Mine.
They're in the door.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's embarrassing.
Well, it's okay. It happens. We all do it.
Alright, so I just do that until it says 0 things left to be purged. I'll actually do it a couple times after it says 0 just to make sure.
You never know.
You never know. And that's typically the last thing that I'll do, and then I'll just hit save. And what we'll do is we will start a folder under outgoing. We'll call it outgoing. And there's no reason to keep versions of this. We'll just save it, just save over it. And what we'll probably do is we're going to call this the courtyard arc. We'll put arc in there. Some consultants will put 19 for 2019 version so they don't have to think about it. But that should be agreed upon when you start the project for the consultant what version is being used. I honestly don't know for sure whether or not construction is using 2019 or not. I hope they are. We'll find out when we send them the email. So
yeah.
And I'll show you. So after I save this, we'll look at the model that we're in is 109,000 or 109 megabytes ish. So I'm gonna hit save here, and let's go see how big that one is. Any guesses? 50?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you think? I think it's going to be about 85. I think it'll drop, but not a whole lot. 12 kilobytes. No, I'm just kidding. It'll still be, yeah, it's still saved. When we send it, we only need to send the file. We don't need to send the backup folder.
Okay.
There's no reason to send the backup folder.
Okay.
When we receive files from consultants, you'll want to open it detached. Otherwise, it'll be looking for their file on their server.
We work on the assumption that they didn't do this.
Right. Yes.
So that's
you don't need to purge unused though. Mainly because I like seeing what they have in theirs. Sometimes there's some cool stuff in there, especially structural. They like to have their own custom structural families, which can be useful sometimes. MEP too. Sometimes they have some really cool custom stuff in there that you can salvage from it. But when we get their model, we'll go through this whole process again, and we'll look at how to load, how to link, how to align, and how to coordinate the models between the two. Once we get the structural, we'll probably not remove stuff from ours, but turn that work set off so that it's not part of the documentation, like our joists and our beams and columns, and we'll rely on the structural model to show where that stuff is. We don't want to remove it completely from our project because we still want to have some control over being able to move that stuff, and I'll show you guys, if we need to coordinate that, how we can do that with their model elements. Any questions about that?
Still a corner? Oh, I was right.
It's still going.
I was close.
But you might be. But you did go over, and on Price of Right, that is a failure. We all know. What did you say?
Well, I was kind of thinking close to yours. I was going to say 100.
So it literally. So we've got twice as much information in our model as we actually need. So at least. So some of that could be errors. When we purged it removed things that had errors in it, probably. So there's, you can see that when you, now that also removed a lot of the families that we use to document. So if you go try to document this, you probably won't have like certain dimension types, you won't have certain text types, you won't have certain leader types that you typically use to document the project. So don't use purge unused unless you're sending it to someone else. Or unless you know for a fact that you've got everything that you need being used in the project.
Or you only specifically choose a certain category that you want to purge.
Right.
Which I've done for
you can do that too. You can pick which category. So
I just want to get rid of all these weird wall types.
Any questions about that process?
When they send it over, you said that we're gonna detach it, and that's when we open it, it's gonna have that little checkbox at the bottom, right?
Yes.
They didn't do that.
Audit and detach. Now, if they don't have WorkShare, well, even if they did it, we'll still have to detach.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Because it's going, if it's a WorkShare file, we'll have to detach because it'll still be looking for their central model somewhere on their, whether it's Z drive,
even if they save it detached.
Even if they save detached. The only reason you won't have to do that, and that won't be an option, is if they have made it not a WorkShare file.
Okay.
If it's just a straight Revit model with no central location, then you won't have to do that. You won't even have the option for that. Oh, my mouse is on the fritz again. Alright, I'm going to zoom this real quick. Oh. And then let's look at, so if you guys want to take just a minute to stretch your legs, when I finish sending this, let's take a look at the model and figure out where we're going from here, what else we really need. There's a number missing. Hi, did you say Joy? Toy. Hi, my name is Carl Gibson with Delineations Tulsa. How are you doing? Excellent. I am looking for either Ellie or Drew. Thank you. Hey, is this Ellie? Oh, okay. Hey, Ellie, Carl Gibson with Delineations Tulsa. How are you doing? Excellent. I am working with Chester on this Tasco remodel, and we are getting ready to send a model over to you, but I realized that I've talked to Chester about what version of Revit we're using, but we haven't talked to you to make sure we're using Revit 2019. Yeah. Right, yeah. Okay, we'll send that file right over here. I just wanted to check and make sure that that wasn't going to be an issue. And look forward to coordinating with you on this. All right, have a good one. Bye. All right. Y'all ready again?
Yeah, you might want to resync that again if you want.
It'll take 30 minutes, but okay.
Yeah, I just did a few tweaks on that thing.
Okay. Let's do like a quick 10-15 minute more crash course on work sets.
Okay.
And because there's more stuff that I haven't shown you that's really useful tools you'll probably be able to use them, and some kind of proper etiquette type stuff that we haven't been doing, and that's also my fault. You know the difference. I'm actually in a detached model right here, so I don't have my local copy save here. But you always want to be working in your local model unless you are managing the project and you are intentionally working in the central model. If you work in the central model while other people in their local model, it will completely invalidate their models. It breaks everything. There is no reconciliation. There is no, okay, we'll check and see if we can make it work. It is, as soon as you work in and save the central model without being in a local file, it breaks all connections.
Wait, so you're saying with the local files, the manager?
No, if you're managing a project,
Okay.
and that means you're the BIM manager, you are the person who is in charge of the quality of the model. Then that's really the only reason you should ever open the central model by itself. Like, open the central model so it doesn't have your name attached to the end of it. When you're working in the central model, you'll know because you'll have this synchronize button, but you won't have your local button. If you have both, you're good. If you only have one, then you're done for. There are other options here on this. I don't mess with it because that's a bad button. I don't like that button.
Okay.
I like this dialogue here because it gives you a chance to comment on what you've worked on. Yeah, right? The reason that's important is because if you go to your collaborate model, you can show history. And let's go back here to that remember that backup folder we talked about? Okay, if I open that, oops.
It's asking for a Revit file.
Yes. If I open that file, it's going to look in that backup folder, and it's going to look for a file that tells me all this information here. So you can see Joppa actually does put comments in there. You did too. Yeah.
Somebody else does.
So this is, I mean, I do sometimes. So if you're putting that stuff in, it's like a progress list of things that are going on, all right? And so let's say that something happens to the model, and we know for a fact that we need to restore a version before we loaded a SketchUp model, because the SketchUp model completely kaput the entire thing for everything. So we now can go back and say, let's see here, place SketchUp models and walls. Okay, that's the one that's on this date and time. And then we can go back and restore a backup. Using that as well. It might actually show the comments from the, I think it might bring up the same dialog box. Yep, there it is. So we can actually restore a backup based on what happened on those. I can't tell you how many times that has saved me when people have put that in, and I can say, okay, that's exactly the file that we need. So it's not bad if you don't put a comment in there, but it is very helpful. It doesn't have to be a long description of exactly everything that you did, just a general updated walls, added roof screen, whatever the major component that you work on for that save. And it is good to go ahead and do your saves every. For this, it wouldn't be horrible if you did local saves every hour, central saves every 2 hours. I think right by default it's 30 minutes in an hour. So in a local save, it prompts for a local save every 30 minutes and a central save every hour. When you save the central, it does a local save also. It saves the local, reads everything from central. Oh, sorry.
Unless you specifically disable that.
Yes, but even when you do that, it only before and after. Yes. Okay. It does. So when you hit that with that check mark, it saves what you currently have on your screen to your local file, and then it reads everything from the central model that's new, puts it in your model, syncs what you have to the central model, and then takes everything that's on your screen again and saves it locally. So everything is synced that way. It also relinquishes everything that you've worked on, so everyone has control. There's a checkbox there also if you want to keep control of what you currently have. It's this guy right here. After synchronizing, relinquish the following work sets and elements, and if you check that, which you should check that when you sync for the last time before you leave. If you don't check that and somebody is still working in the project, then they won't, and you're gone for the day, they cannot work on anything that you have relinquished. They have not relinquished, right? Anything that they've worked on that they haven't relinquished. Does that make sense? Okay. Any questions about that? Hey, you understand the difference between a central model and a local model?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. The reason that this takes so long to come up is because it is actually going back to the server and checking the file status of everything that's on the server. And I think Workshare files like double the amount of time that it takes to check it. I don't know why. All I know is that when I started working on this, it took twice as long for that to open.
This is why we want a local server.
Yes. Okay.
Or a gigabit connection, but
so
one of them's cheaper than the other.
The work sets dialog box, y'all are welcome. If you feel that there's something you're working on that deserves its own work set, feel free to make your own. So you can make a new work set, name it, make it the active one. If you make a new work set, it will always be a user work set. You cannot make your own view work set. You cannot make your own family work set without making family. And you cannot make your own project standard work set. You can see that right now I'm the owner of all these because I'm working in it. I showed you how to close. If you want to see right now, I think all of these are set to editable. So editable is yes for me on all these. I can make this non-editable for me. It sets it for me, not for anyone else. So if I don't want to accidentally change something on another work set, or if I don't want to accidentally place something on another work set, I can hit non-editable, and that is no longer editable for me. Okay. I can also close it. So I can close this work set, like I showed earlier, and then I think all my levels will disappear because those are all on, except for that one apparently. There we go. Okay.
It's like locking a layer in Artifact.
What's that? It's another version of a layer. Just like categories are kind of like layers.
I mean, typically closing it is like locking the layer.
Yes. Except, I think if you lock a layer, it's still visible, right?
No.
Because there's also visibility.
Yeah, there's visibility in locking it. Locking it actually unloads it from memory.
Oh, okay.
And turning off visibility, it'll keep it in memory, but it won't show it unless you have it to show even then, but like. Okay.
Right. There's an option up here to gray an active work set, so if I click that, everything that's not on the current work set that I'm working on will kind of go halftone. If I check that again, you can kind of see that.
Handy.
Yep. So if I go to structure, that's my active work set, and then I click this, you can see that everything here goes grayscale. It is pretty handy. There's a couple other things that you can do that are super handy. I don't know. This button is not up here for some reason, okay? But there is a button down here called Work Sharing Display. It's down here next to your light bulb and your glasses and all that. And you can change how things appear, and there's some preset options. So I can look and see what's checked out currently, and nothing is checked out because everybody's saved to central, right? So nobody has ownership of anything right now. Mainly because I'm in the detached model. Let's actually, I'm gonna load up the
your local one.
Yeah. I create a new local model every morning, by the way. So there's no need to append timestamps on the end.
Because it does the history.
Right. I make a new local one just so that I know that I'm getting the freshest. It's like going down to the meat market early in the morning, or the farmer's market, get the best pick. Have you seen this picture, Courtney? While that's loading. This is what happens when your documents are not clear. You see what happened?
What are they calling out?
Do you see the stair?
Yeah, I see that.
Do you see why it ended up that way?
Wow.
There's another really good one. Let's see here. Concrete call out.
That's hilarious.
Concrete call out.
Maybe they should have made the call out a little thicker or something.
No, thinner.
Or at least placed it to where it doesn't. Here's another really good one.
Whatever. That is not real.
It looks like a real saw cut to me.
Why?
I'm pretty sure that's unrelated. They actually just needed to make a hole, and the best way they could do it was with a large drill.
Think so?
Yeah.
Oh wow, that's hilarious.
That's my guess.
You're probably right.
Because I've done holes like that. Or the only tool I have is a drill, so so I just like drill a bunch of holes and I something like that.
It gives a new definition to be clear on your story. All right. So going back to what we were talking about, view share or work share views, we can look and see what's checked out. So the things in red are checked out. And when you're in a work,
specifically checked out by somebody else.
Yes, when you're in a work sharing display, you can actually hover over an object and it will give you information on who's checked things out. So current owner is K. Benson, created by C. Gibson, last updated in Central by K. Benson. Okay, and you can do that with anything. All right, so you hover over anything and you get that information. You can do it by current owner. Okay, so it looks like Courtney's the only one with stuff currently owned. Model updates, looks like there's nothing new that needs to be updated by the model. There's Japa 2U5D8. I don't know, why is your username all messed up like that?
That's my Autodesk account username. I don't know why they do that.
Oh, okay.
But that's what it is.
You can change that if you want to under file options. You can change what username you use.
Okay.
I think here, options, yeah, username. I remember that now. I had that issue where everyone was looking at the central owner like, who's the architect? I was like, what? Why are you seeing that in the central model stuff? And that was my Autodesk username, because I had logged in. I forgot about that. That's right.
Oh, no, you can only change it if you're not signed in.
No, I've changed it when I've been signed in before.
Well, in there, let me check mine. Because it was saying there that when you're signed in, it's automatically set to your...
Right.
Oh, I forgot. When I open the file menu.
Now you have to wait. You can change it a little bit. Let's finish this real quick.
Oh, those are pretty colors.
Oh, it reminds me of the default colors when you make anything in that.
Yeah. Or make any schedule film colors in Autodesk and Revit.
Mm-hmm.
So this view, which is by work sets. Okay, so this is just breaking everything down by which work set it's on. So I think I put that on the wrong work set. It should be on the same as. Oh, I did it in the other.
The other one. Yeah.
In the other one, so we can put that on structure.
Not show.
Sorry. And see, now I know that it's still wrong. And there's not really if you're managing the model, there's not really a wrong way to set these up. I debated whether or not I wanted an existing and new construction work set. That didn't seem right to me when I was thinking through it on what would go on which. It's usually pretty simple. If the more simple you keep it on the rules on what goes on which work set, then it's probably a better idea to go with that. If you have to get like really nitty gritty, like if it's this big and it's part of this discipline and is only used in this part of the building and it goes on this work set, then it's probably not the best work set scheme. Remember that these were work sets were originally intended to divide the work amongst people who were going to be working in the model at the same time. I mean, you worked in AutoCAD.
Yeah.
You worked in AutoCAD before too, right? That's
yeah.
cool. You can't there's not a very straightforward way to have multiple people working in an AutoCAD file. And that's why they have one DWG per sheet, right? Yeah. On large projects with tons of XREFs, right? So this is essentially breaking up the sheets into different work sets. Okay, that's why there's a different work set per sheet, except it's the different elements of the building. So some of my older ones have things like exterior. I actually had used to have a work set called structure architectural, because it would be us putting structure in, and then we'd have a structure link work set, which was the link from the structural. We'd have a different work set for each link, a different work set for each DWG. I'd have a vertical circulation work set for stairs and elevators, so that somebody can work on stairs and elevators while someone else worked on the walls around them, right? So it makes more sense now to think of it as work sets are not the best way to control your resources in terms of hiding things. Filters and visibility, like view templates, are better for that, but it is another good organizational method to have for that. So. But you can easily see if things are on the right work set by going here. When I turn the work share display off, you lose the ability to hover over things and see who's owned it. So if you want to see why you can't work on something, just turn that on and see. I used to use that to figure out who I needed to go talk to about why I wasn't able to do stuff. You can also, if you don't like these colors, you can come in here and set the colors for the different modes, right? And let's see, I'll turn that off. The other thing is work sets are also part of the visibility graphics for each view. Okay, so when you're in a workshare project, there's a work set tab. You can set these to show, hide, or use global setting. Okay, the global setting is set in the work sets dialog. When you create a work set, it'll ask you, do you want this work set visible in all views? And that's this right here, visible in all views. So you can see I've got the DWG civil and the shared levels and grids set to not be visible in all views. Okay, so you have to manually go turn those things on in a specific view. In a view, so you can see DWG civil, it's use global setting, not visible. If I set it to show, might actually still have it turned off in imported categories. I do. So now we can see that DWG here. Okay.
Although that particular DWG we don't have to worry about, right?
We need to worry about it because it's part of the civil. That's the new civil stuff.
Now that it's all set up by you, I guess.
Right. And that's the point. If it's set to show to globally display in all views, every new view you make, everything on that work set's going to show up. So if I don't want to use the civil except in 2 views, then I just tell it to not show up in all views. And that way, when you make a new view, you don't have to go through the process of hiding it and turning off that work set and all that stuff in every new view that you make. So that DWG, if I had that turned on, it would show up in sections, elevations, even though you can't really see it. Well, you would, because it does have Z positioning on a lot of the lines. So, any questions about work sets? I mean, that's pretty much as Crush. What's that?
Pretty much straightforward.
Okay. I did not say, hey, Cortana.
No, you did.
I did, but it was already listening, so. Okay. So let's talk about where we're trying to get in terms of this project. So the goal of this project is to get a permit set for demolition and remodel of the shell only for this project. Okay? You've both seen the existing conditions. Joppa's seen it at night.
I saw some photos.
Cincinnati. Alright, it's this guy right here. Back up the hill. Yeah, nice overview shot. Okay. And
I remember it. Okay.
we're trying to. Do you remember this building?
The glass one?
Yeah. We drove by it right here. I said that was City Hall.
I think I forgot that part.
This is the Performing Arts Center.
That I remember.
That's the one that had the lights on it.
I remember the Performing Arts Center.
Yeah. So
I remember the Bootlegged Trade Center.
The what?
Bootlegged Trade Center.
The
Bootlegged Trade Center.
Bootlegged Trade Center. Oh yeah.
Pirate copy.
So, do you know that story? You know the BOK Tower downtown?
No.
No.
At first, I thought you said the OKC building, bombings building or something.
No,
At
I worked on that project too.
Really?
The garage refit. I worked on that.
Oh, that's cool.
Not before, it was.
Yeah, afterwards. But that's still cool.
That was actually a pretty special moment for me in my career because I remember in middle school, I got pulled out of class into my target class, which was like a gifted class. And the teacher was like, he pulled all of his students out, said just sit and watch the news coverage for the rest of the day of that. And then 15 years later, I was on a project. So it was pretty cool. This is the story behind this building. Is that it was built off of a set of documents which was basically copied and stolen by either the structural engineer or an architect that worked on the World Trade Center. And this is literally half of the World Trade Center tower. It is engineered to actually go the full distance up, but they didn't. They stopped building it halfway.
What, did they take a report or anything, or
did they take?
Were they
I don't know. It's just the story that was told on the tour.
Okay.
Which tour stories, you take them for what you hear. You never really know for sure. Anyway, so we're turning this guy right here into this guy right here.
I'd say it's an improvement.
I think so. The building's been abandoned for quite some time. Originally, it was a Tasco, which was a oil tire and loop center, basically. Auto parts store / repair center. You can look at the existing documents if you want to see more about it, but it's pretty much in the shape that it was in when it was built. So we are raising the roof. We're taking off the awning all the way around. We're giving it a little bit of a facelift. We're taking there's brick column details here, filling that in, painting it, adding some granite, some stucco. This wall is completely new. Okay, and this is set up to basically, let's see, previous demo. Okay, so this is the previous building here. Everything that's red is being removed. Okay, so you can see there used to be a wall here for the upstairs. It's being removed. The stairs here are being removed. These sections here where storefronts going in being removed. Garage doors being removed. All of this storefront up here is being removed. Okay, these awnings, which if you're ever downtown before this is torn down, make you think twice about walking underneath it. These are asbestos panels. It's just solid asbestos.
Oh.
But it's the best asbestos. Behind this section of the asbestos panel is a CMU. So this right here is all existing CMU. And then here and here, actually, I've got the walls here. I can select those. Here and here is metal stud framing. It's steel stud framing above the storefront. One of the challenges that we're going to have is that different materials expand and contract at different rates when heat and cold is applied to them. CMU expands at a different rate than the metal framing. So right now, the plan is for them to have brick going over that joint where the CMU and the framing is. And we're going to have to figure out a way to make it so that those don't expand at a different rate and cause cracking in the brick facade.
You may have to make an expansion joint in the brick.
There will probably definitely be an expansion joint. The problem is that this joint doesn't happen cleanly at a storefront. So it's going to be, we're going to have to figure out how we're going to do that. Another one of the challenges that we have is we are removing, if you look at the pictures, and somewhere in the documents this is mentioned, but it's never detailed, this portion of the wall is brick on each side with the parapet on top. Okay, so we're removing all the double brick-sided parapet, and we're extending the CMU, which is the concrete masonry units with the brick, up the new height. You had a question?
Oh no.
You sure?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So if we go to
show demo again.
So you can see this is all the stuff that is new only, and you can see we're basically extending the CMU up and facing it with brick, and then on the back side we'll do some counter flashing type stuff on the roof. So we'll be able to see the CMU. Well, we won't be able to see the CMU, but it'll be CMU on the inside instead of brick on the inside. This wall gets pulled out and it does this little jog thing. So one of the things that we are having to solve I know, Courtney, hang in there. These callouts that I've made are the areas that I've identified as we need to figure out how this is going to work. Okay, so one of the areas that we're going to have to solve is this connection between the second floor and the terrace out here. We've set the terrace to be half inch below the floor at one point, but if we slope that away constantly, you can see we have two different levels of where the door hits, so we'll probably have to do like some feathering up to those heights to make that different, to make it come up to the half inch threshold for wheelchair accessibility. You see what I'm saying? Is this is further down than this because it's a quarter inch slope down. And then this whole detail here, we are also trying to solve.
How it joins up.
Let me find. I've got some CMU here somewhere. Oh, am I in? I feel like I'm missing a CMU wall here.
Yeah, you're still showing only new.
Oh, that's right. I went back to. Okay, there we go. So all this area that's not concrete terrace is going to be planted. There's planters, self-contained planters that are going to be sitting on top of this.
Yeah, I saw that discussion more.
So there's going to be a drain point right along this line here, and it'll kind of come into that area. And there's going to be a gutter along here that Chester calls the fry catcher. So all the kids that throw their fries on the ground, instead of clogging up the roof drains, it'll be caught by that gutter, so that they can come out and clean all that stuff up. So you can kind of see where we're trying to figure out how this is going to work to waterproof this whole area. So those are really the biggest challenges I think that we're going to have. There's some cleanup and design work that really needs to happen on some of the other stuff, but we don't really need to solve that in order to get a permit. But once we send this to permits, there's a really good chance that the owner will not ask us to do any more architectural work on it. So we want to be able to have as many cover your butt notes as possible, so that they can't turn around and say, well, this is what was in the documents and it's leaking, so we've got an issue. Because they're not asking us to detail the actual work, just asking for what they need for permitting. So we took this project knowing that there was going to be some liability issue there, but it's a very visible project. It's downtown. It's going to have our name on it. It's going to be a really good portfolio booster for us, and it could get us into a lot of commercial work, which would be it'd be a lot
Unless
of fun.
it turns out bad, in which case everybody knows whose fault it is.
Well, there are two sides of that story, right? And if the owner chooses to go that route with how he tells that story, then mud dragging is a two-way road. Yeah, so we've considered that. But even if things happen and they decide that this is going to be the ugliest building on the face of the planet, we have the original design intent. We can run it through visualization, put it in our portfolio as this is we documented. Yes, exactly. But have fun with it. We are trying to keep the hours down on it, but it's a great opportunity for you guys to work on some commercial stuff.
Yeah, and also work on like work sharing model, which we don't normally do.
Yes. Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, work sharing is going to be frustrated on our current network situation. Don't let that be your only impression of work sharing. I've done work sharing on fantastic networks, and the only problem we really ever had was when people started doing stupid things. And really, you have that problem even if you're not work sharing. People, if you get lazy and you start not really caring about what your work is doing to other people, then you're going to have that problem when you're work sharing. So just remember that other people working in the model too. Be considerate. And I personally like work sharing because if you come up against an edit request or something's wrong in the model, you have to get up and solve the problem. And that's kind of what we do here, is solving the problem. So where we're going with this, I have to do some documenting. We want to try to match the SketchUp model as close as possible, with the exception of the heights of the roof. We're setting the heights of the roof slightly different than what the SketchUp model is, because we have to solve how that's going to be waterproof. What?
You said you were going to go over the models with me?
Yep. I can do that.
I might want to peek in because I don't know anything about models.
Okay.
Yeah, because I asked myself,
you want to go over it right now? Or before I finish this up? I am leaving at 4 today, but...
Is there a reason why that railing is modeled as a wall?
This one?
The last one.
I did that.
Have you ever done curved railing panels?
I have done railings that's supposed to be supposed to have panels on them.
Curved railing panels.
I know. Although in this case, I would just have the glass as a solid thing, as like a sweep.
Yeah, and
that's what it is. Actually, I did all in one path, but
she was basically using the path that was there, and the way that those curves connected, it doesn't hit a tangent, which is why those lines were there. So even if it was done as a sweep using that same path, you'd have the lines because the curves don't hit in a tangent.
I mean, I was more because now it makes it annoying adding all the other structural elements to it.
Yeah. We'll figure it out. This was mostly for us to get it in place and solve some of the problems.
Have something to send over to them saying, here's what it looks like.
Yep. And now we need to solve the issue of, obviously, with the slope in there, we need to start bringing it down and solving. Okay, what does the railing on the slope side do? Does it slope also, or does it get taller? So that's something that I don't think they considered in the SketchUp model. So we're gonna have to solve that problem too. So, actually, we don't have to solve that problem.
Yeah.
I take that back. We're not getting paid to solve that problem. We're getting paid to solve the problem of getting a permit set for them to start work.
Which means we just make it look like the SketchUp model, except for what places where we do waterproofing.
Pretty much, yeah. And we will actually be doing waterproofing where these go down into the... Actually, these might just embed into the concrete deck. The waterproofing happens below the concrete deck. It depends on what structural does on these. The structural is designing the post for this railing.
The structural is also working on the model at the same time as us?
Yes, not in our model. They're working on their own model. So hopefully they can send us something soon. I don't know what they really have, because they don't have any heights. So they have the SketchUp model, but they wanted to see what we had done for roof heights before they did it.
Okay.
So we'll be coordinating with them over the next day or two. Get that, I guess. Today's Thursday. Yeah. Tomorrow. Man, what's up with all the wasps? Check that out.
Yeah, there's a bunch of them out there.
They're trying to get in.
I wonder if it's about to start raining. And I'm looking out here, there's like a dozen of them just flying out up there.
Maybe somebody whacked a nest.
Possible.
That's my theory. It doesn't look like it's about to start raining.
Well, they did say that it's supposed to rain a little bit this afternoon.
I hope not, like, exactly when I need to go home.
It'll be exactly when you go home. Okay, any other questions about do you guys have a good idea of what we're trying to do? Is this?
Yeah.
What I need y'all's help on is just continuing to model the elements from the SketchUp model in here. You're working on the curtain walls, you've got the awnings and the screen on the top.
Yeah. Awnings, I think I finished them.
Okay. At
least I made something that looks like it matches the SketchUp.
Okay.
Take a look at it if you like.
What I could use your help on, these two life safety pages are just images. We need to make views from our model elements that match this. Whether you use detail lines or line patterns in the walls, I don't care, but we need to show all the same information. This information is also in the project information sheet. This is all the code review stuff right here. You can kind of see how this matches up with the information on the life safety. We're having to show what the space is proposed to be used for, so that they know that the egress and everything matches for fire code and whatnot. So this is all proposed to be shopping, retail, so it's mercantile. This is proposed to be a small cafe restaurant, so it's business occupancy. And then upstairs...
Are we keeping the color?
You don't have to keep the color. Okay. Upstairs is proposed to be restaurant, so it doesn't say proposed assembly 2. I would like for you to do something like this, proposed assembly occupancy A2, kind of how it's shown here. A2, 28,500 square feet. I would like for you to use area schedules to confirm these numbers.
Okay.
Based on this stuff. So, and that's assuming that you're finished with what you're working on. So, when you're done with that, you can switch over to this. Probably tomorrow and Monday, I'll be redlining stuff for y'all to work on, and the actual sheets for this, annotations, noting, and things like that as we wrap up modeling. And then I've got stuff from Patriot Home Building on things as well. We got notes back on Grace Langley.
They're ready for construction.
Probably ready for construction set. And then
somebody wrote you while we were talking.
We've got so to wrap up as well. And then probably we'll probably also have by tomorrow some Walmarts to work on.
Oh, I might be there and enjoy that.
Yeah. All right. So any questions before we get on the curtain walls and mullions? Nope. All right. So what questions do you have about these mullions?
A lot.
Okay. Let's pick one to start off.
Okay, for one, the actual curtain wall, it's offset.
Okay.
And it's not in the actual joints. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I noticed that it looks good on the 3D view, but on the elevation, it looks really weird.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look, and with the mullions, they're not the exact, the SketchUp model. I can't,
line it up?
Yeah, line it up, thank you. Good job. Yeah, I can't line it up because they may be off like a quarter of an inch or half an inch.
Yeah. So there's a couple reasons for that. The first is that the Conair stuff it's not an actual dimension. It's like 2.5 inches. It's not the actual 2-inch system. When designers design things, they don't consider, okay, this is going to be a 2.5-inch mullion. They just know that they want a 2-inch sight line on something. They'll say, okay, it's 2x6. And then they'll pick what they want, and it'll be like 2 1/4, 2.5, or in Conair's case, like 2 73, 256 So I'm using this system because I know it's similar to what Chester's used in the past, and it'll probably be what they spec on this one too. It's a curtain wall system that I already have in place. We have a reference to making it look nice. It won't be exactly what's in the SketchUp model, but it'll be really close. So that's where you have to determine, okay, if this is going to be a 2.5-inch wide mullion, okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and select all mullions on grid line, and we're going to make this jam, I think left is the one that's on this side. Nope, I was wrong. Jam right. Okay, and you can see that the whole thing moved over.
Yeah.
So we have two options. We can either... Why can't I select the grid line? What view
For some
line?
reason, some of the grids, I couldn't find them. So I had to delete that grid. Or delete that mullion and create another one.
Is it in the mail? Is it in the mail?
No. Okay. I don't know what it is.
It's your hard drive.
Oh. Yay! Somebody will set that up.
You mean you're not going to?
Well, I mean...
Yeah, for some reason the grid lines aren't showing up, so let's see.
I don't know if the idea guy trust me yet.
Conduit panels, curtain systems.
Is it just plain hidden?
I don't think so. There's a grid line. Is that a grid line? It is a grid line.
What I sometimes do if I can't get something under tab, I just rectangle select and then filter the selection.
Yeah, but it wasn't selecting the grid through the rectangle select either.
Oh, okay.
But in this case, we can probably grab it in 3D view. Nope, still can't. Huh.
Is there even a grid line there?
Well, there has to be. There's a mullion there. It just showed up a second ago. Okay, so there is a grid there.
What shows up if you just hide the mullion?
I can get all of them, but I can't get one.
That seems very useful.
Yes. Courtney has broken our...
You broke it.
Alright, let me try something real quick. That's not what I wanted to do. Okay.
Maybe the grid is like in the wrong phase.
No, it's dependent on the. Okay, there it is. I don't know, Courtney. Something's definitely happened, though, because... I can select it here, but I can't select it here. Let me check something else real quick. Hold on. One more thing. Let's try something else. That's the problem. My seat's too low.
I bet that's fine.
Okay. Nope. There's definitely something's happened with the curtain wall. If I pin that. If I add a new grid to this.
You can't select anyone.
I can select that one, but not the new one. Well, Courtney, I hate to tell you this, but you get to remake all of those grids.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
I'm not sure why, but for some reason, I got that one. I can get that grid. I can get that grid.
I noticed that it was on the east side, and it was like the very last one that I did.
Get that one. Get that one. That one. So I can get all of them over here. Oh. Oh, there it is. So then, but here, we cannot get grids.
I didn't delete them.
Well, if you deleted them, if you delete a grid,
yeah, it'll delete the mullion too.
It deletes everything, yeah.
Yeah.
Is this different?
So that,
Huh. Let's see if anyone smarter than me has figured it out.
so wait, they exist?
I wonder, like, changing it from one mullion to a different height.
No, I don't. No, you should still be able to.
That's really weird.
Because see, if I do this and I pin those, oops, pin those. The problem is I should be able to select a grid right there, and I can't. Oh, now I can. All of a sudden, I can select them all.
Great, I don't have to pray on.
So that was weird. So the problem just now was that I had this option where I couldn't select pinned elements turned on, but I had that turned off earlier, and I don't know.
I guess I missed a couple.
Select lines on head.
What did you just do to select the two horizontal?
Select mullions on horizontal grid, and I actually meant to do on grid line instead of horizontal. On grid line. Oh, I can't do that because you did that. Okay. But now the question is, if I go back to the floor plan that we were on, oh, that's an end one. There we go. Okay. So where were we? We were over here. So I can select that, and I can just move that over to the edge of the column right there.
Yeah, for me, I don't know why. It's not difficult. Well, it's hard to distinguish like what is the SketchUp model, and then well, I know what the SketchUp model is, but where the actual mullion is in the SketchUp model, because it's different from.
Yeah, it's like that light blue line, but you can remember you can go in and just make everything.
Maybe I should do it like a different color. I think I changed it to like a lime green.
So if you make everything the same color on the SketchUp model, it might be a little bit easier. So if I use that red, I can see where all that stuff is. So here, I want it to line up with the column, not necessarily the
SketchUp.
Well, this column is in SketchUp, so like if I hide this, you'll see that there is actually a
column in the SketchUp.
Yeah, a column in the SketchUp,
which is the right size.
Yeah. Let's see if I hide that. Okay, you can see that there's another column right there. What was I doing? I was taking this, select mullions on grid line. This one is jam left, I believe. Yes. Then move. So I'm selecting the grid line. Okay, but then I'm using the geometry of the mullion.
Yeah, that's what I've been doing.
Oh, it helps if
I worked on it and can't move it. Or is it pinned?
Yeah. Alright, now that's going to give you a funky dimension between the grids. I don't care. Well, we can fix the mullions later if we have to.
And that's what I was going to ask you too.
Yeah. So the other thing that you need to, that you get to worry about is the alignment of these glass panels, because you see the glass panels aren't lining up with that. Okay, so here's what you have to do. All right, we need to figure out what's our offset. Okay, it's 1 1/4 inch, and you can see this line right here.
That's
when you select the curtain wall, that's the location line of the actual wall itself. So you know when you create a wall, you have a location line that's center of core, wall center line, corner face. There isn't that for curtain wall. It's just center of the wall. And what that is it's a reference plane for your offsets, for your mullions and your panels. So if I go look at this panel that's being used, okay, this is system panel glazed. All right. Right now, if we go look at the properties for that, we can see that it is offset 1 1/4 inches. All right. So if I set that to 0, I might not be able to because you might have it checked out. So if I set it to 0, it places it right there. Okay. Now, I'm okay with us doing this right here. I had the curtain walls set up to where the center of the curtain wall was in the center line of the wall. That's not really ideal because you're going to have different thicknesses of walls. So it doesn't really work that crazy way that I wanted it to work in real life. So I'm okay with it being, just use the center of the panel as the center of the wall. And then what we're going to have to solve is when you do that, you might have to go back and readjust this location of the, see, like these need to move out to match the SketchUp model. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. Yeah. So. Did you model that, or is that in the SketchUp model? That's in
Well,
the
SketchUp model thing.
Yeah, but here's the crazy thing about SketchUp models. Is sometimes the person who models it will override the layer colors. And if they override the layer colors, then it doesn't matter what we assign to it here. It's going to take the
I've
material
noticed that because some of it is black, and then the rest of it would be the color that you assigned it to.
Yep. So what you would have to do in this case is you would have to find this, what render material. If I go look at the materials here, manage materials. Actually, I don't know if it brings materials in from families or not. Yep. See all these things that say render materials? Those are all imported from SketchUp. Those were all purged when we did purge unused. So we would have to find which of these was assigned to this.
And we don't have to do that.
Change
right?
them. No, we don't have to do that. No, absolutely not. But this is the detail that we're using at these columns to close the gap between the brick and the CMU.
Little angular thing.
Yeah, I can't see it that way. It's literally a steel angle, and it's welded to the column, and it gives closure between the brick and the CMU. Right. What else about mullions? So, and by the way, when we go look at that, we can see that
The door gems, they were off. Yeah, they were off.
Oh goodness, you okay over there?
Yeah.
Oh, I need to select. Let's go ahead and do that. I wish I could do that, but I think these are pinned, so I can't. I think you can actually use the match tool if you've unpinned it already.
How do you use a match tool?
It's this guy over. Where is it?
It looks like the paint tool.
Yeah, well, it's not the paint tool. It's the match properties tool, and the icon doesn't look anything like. There it is. Match type properties. Wow. I use the MA. I have a keyboard shortcut MA. So you hit that, and then you pick. It's an eyedropper. So you pick what you want it to be from, and then you click what you want it to go to. No, I can't.
Paint as well?
No, it's not. I haven't unpinned this one, so you have to unpin everything first, but then you can match. Yeah. And there's another one. Unpin. Match. There we go. Okay. So you can see that now we've got, the panels are in the right place and everything. I've got another one here that I need to probably get rid of. You know, the ones across the top and the bottom, those won't be there at the columns.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the column goes. No, column will go all the way to the ground, just like that. You asked me another question about
It was about the door jams.
the door jams. There we go. Thank you. So we can do the same thing that we talked about here.
It won't after that.
Select the lines. Oh, that's right.
Corners on the second floor.
Okay. So here's the crazy thing about the door jams. So there's two curtain wall systems in this. There's the 2 by 7.5 and 2 by 6. We want to use the 2 by 6 ones.
That's what I thought. That's what I was using.
Well, this is 2 by 7.5, and you're using the jam. You want to be sure you're using the door jam.
You know what? I bet you that's the only one that was like that.
Oh, that's the one that's giving you the delete type thing. TCU special light entry. Okay, so you're gonna get this, the thing that says it can't make that panel. Okay, you're just gonna have to delete type, replace panels. That's fine, and then you have to go through this process of replacing all these with the right mullion. Have fun. So which one is that? That's R. So this is going to be door jam L for both of those, and you want this to come all the way down. So we're going to make. Why is that? Oh, you've got another grid line down here.
Don't want a fat fingers or a shortcut now.
No. Macros.
This one thing.
What's my keyboard? I don't know. I can't remember what I've got a keyboard shortcut for tab views. VT. View tab. That's what it is. Okay. 3D. So I've got a macro key that tiles everything and zooms to extents. Like this.
Which you accidentally pressed.
Which I accidentally pressed. Okay. So while you're doing these, it's going to break that panel. I think I'll try it again over here. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
How can I get that panel back without it being another panel at the bottom?
With another panel at the bottom? I don't. For some reason, you have grid lines in some places right at the bottom. Like there's a grid line right there. I'm not sure what happened. Why there's an extra grid line there? It might have been one I made. I think I know what happened. Well, it's on all of them, and I made the original one, so I don't know.
Oh, I know on some of them, the doors for some reason disappeared, and I had to make a grid line. So I had to move the grid line all the way to the bottom to create a door there.
Gotcha. So here's the thing about the mullions for the door jam. They are set up so that you can actually place the grids. Hold up now. So that you can place the grids. The right distance between the actual doors. So if I know this is going to be a 3-foot door. Oh, you know what this is? Holly, stay here, Holly. Birth certificate? Huh? You say birth certificate?
No.
It is. I guess it is kind of like a birth certificate.
It's a birth certificate for the company.
Exactly.
So you might get to go get a frame for this. I'll break it. The paper is stronger than you said. There it is. Okay. Certificate of authority. We have the authority to do architecture.
Yay.
In the state of Oklahoma.
Yay.
Authority.
Do you want to keep it here and still like frame?
I'll let you hold on to it.
Okay.
You want me to ask Joanna where she got that frame so we can get a matching one, or?
That one right there?
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll check and see. Okay, so the reason that we have these jams is because they're a little bit different than the way normal jams work. I don't know why they look weird. But it also allows us to set these grids up instead of having to calculate door width plus whatever the volume is going to be. We can actually set this at 3 feet, and that's the door. That's going to be the actual door width. Yeah. So we can move this. We can move the grid lines.
Wait, can you do that again? What did you do?
I just grabbed it, and then I typed in the dimension.
I think it has to go more according to the SketchUp thing.
Yeah, according to the SketchUp thing. I'm not sure why he's got that larger than 3 feet though. Let's see what he has that as. 3'6". Okay, so we'll come over here. We'll make that a 3'6" door, or we won't. 6 inches. So now that door, that panel, is the actual width of the door instead of the grid lines being 3 foot 8.5 inches or whatever it needed to be. Now this is a door head, but I think we could just use the head.
Well, I thought I made that the seal.
Well, the seal's on the bottom.
Well, I just looked at one of the 3D view family, and I saw it like that, so.
I thought I had a door head one though, but I guess
you do have one because I used that for the top. Oh, not a door head, but I used the head or whatever it was.
There's a mullion head.
There's a mullion head, but it has did I use seal? Oh, I see. Yeah, I probably did use seal because it's flat on the bottom and then it has the yeah. So this is the part that I kind of didn't really consider when I did these. If we use the door jamb going up, we're not going to have the insert for the glass above. But since we're not sectioning that up there, I decided that I didn't really care. So you have to take that door jamb all the way up.
And that's what I tried to do. Well, I tried to have the vertical one, and it was totally different. So I just made the whole grid line.
So once I have a panel that's rectangular, I can go back in here and select that panel there and put the door back in.
Oh.
The reason that it's breaking is because, and I'll show you why here in a second. Make sure this is.
So curtain wall door is different from regular door, right?
Yes, it shows up under doors as a category, but it is a curtain wall panel. Okay, so when you model a panel, it's constrained to the constraints of a rectangular curtain wall panel. If you can't put a rectangular piece in there and there are constraints to that rectangular constraint in the family, it breaks. So what I mean by that is if I go in here and I select just this one, just making sure, and I do that, oh, you've already got that set. So if I go in and just make this one a vertical, you see how it broke right there?
Mm-hmm.
So the family doesn't know how to resolve that. So it's looking for just a straight rectangular panel, which is probably a sign of a poorly made model for the family, or this poorly made family, because it won't break this. It didn't break this family. See, the glass panel still works. So, but that's why you get that, and sometimes you just have to.
I've been paranoid, like trying to make a change. I'll go back and look.
So one way around that, this might not work. Mm-hmm. You can select both of these that make that whole thing up, and select them. Are there 3?
Oh, the one above.
Oh, well, the one above. That's a different panel.
It's a different panel, but you want to change it. So
we'll see. Let's see.
You see that gap at the bottom?
Yeah, it's because you have another grid line there.
Yeah.
So if I change this to vertical, so let's see. So it actually kept it because it's within the realm of just that panel. So I didn't have to change the one above for that to work. So limitations.
No, but I meant in the sense that you were going to change it.
Graphically, you would want it to line up. Yeah. But I was talking about in the sense of wanting to change it without breaking that.
Yeah.
If you pick all the the mullions that make up the border of that panel, or at least on one side, it won't break it.
Okay.
So, but then
That's good to know.
this guy. Now I will say, one thing we can do. So like, here's another pro tip. Sometimes this works, sometimes this doesn't. If I delete this, you can see that it gets rid of that panel there. If I notice this, I can come in and make. It's not going to make me make that. Let me make that a door. Sometimes you can make this the same panel as the one below.
How do you do that? Select both of them?
I use the match tool.
Oh.
But it's not going to let me because of the constraints on this one. But then when you delete that, it'll grow that panel up, so it'll be a door again.
Okay.
So yeah. All right. What other questions?
The second floor corner.
That's not what I get to do. All right. You didn't see me do that.
Oh yeah, he doesn't like us to push cancel when it has an alert.
Always save. Always save. I've had too many bad experiences with power outages and doing silly things with workshare models. Apparently I actually clicked save when I didn't mean to, so.
And now it's saving.
And now it's saving. So I guess while we're doing that, any questions so far about curtain wall panels?
I think that's pretty much it.
I really like working with a lot of.
I really like working with
once you get to know it. At first I was just like
it also really helps if you go look at how curtain walls and storefronts technically work, like how they're built. You get a really good understanding. You can do some really, really complex and fascinating curtain wall tools. Revit. You can do embedded panels, and like you can make a panel a wall type. You can actually make it a wall assembly. You can also make it a curtain wall assembly. And if you have a curtain wall assembly with embedded mullion and panel types, you can have embedded curtain walls with mullions and panel types inside of another curtain wall. So you can get really, really deep in the complexity of doing patterns and things like that.
I've seen somebody made a tile roof out of curtain walls.
Yes.
Which to me just seems overkill.
I've done that with when you actually need the barrel. Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, I just
I
put
thought
a
it was
barrel
done.
texture on the roof and call it a day.
But how do you render it, Joppa? How do you render it?
I put a barrel texture on the roof and I call it a day.
Alright.
I just told my boss this is the limitations that we're dealing with.
That works if your boss doesn't know better.
Or like, if I really need to, then in the final render I replace it with something that was only going to be there for the render.
I was gonna finish this up real quick since I broke it. So
I found a really nice plugin for 3ds Max that works great for that kind of thing.
for
shingle tower, like barrel tower.
Oh yeah.
Or any kind of tower.
So you all know about tabbing through things, right?
Yeah.
Like for selecting?
Yeah.
But you can't select like the entire grid line doing that. I mean the whole, like 3 of the mullions that's on the grid line, you know what I mean?
You can actually.
I know you showed me where you can right click And
You mean like 3 of the grids, 3 of the mullions?
Yeah.
What do you? Yeah, maybe I don't understand what you mean.
what could you say?
No, you can't do that by tabbing. You have to select one of them, right-click on it, and select the entire grid line.
Yeah, yes, because you said you guys know about the tabbing through.
Yeah. Did you know that when you tab through, there's also, shift tab that goes the opposite direction. So if you're tabbing through and you go past the selection that you want, you hit shift tab.
And you see me do that all the time when you don't do the same thing. Wow.
I mean, it seems obvious in hindsight because shift tab does work like that for a lot of people. Anywhere where tab does the thing.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
There we go. All right, so I got that kind of back to where it was.
Except there's a missing column.
Ish. Am I not? Oh, I am. I'm hitting the wrong. I'm hitting the wrong button. I'm hitting the Windows key instead of the. There we go. All right.
There's still a hole there where the column's supposed to be.
There should be a column there, I think.
There is not.
Well, we'll have to figure out what's up with that. Okay, this corner up here, and then I've got to get out of here. So these corners, we're doing this thing right here. And what that should look like, if I come up here and make, and remind me, I need to point something out to you, Courtney. All right, so what it should look like, right? I'm going to put a grid in here. We got something to, oops. There we go. All right, so what we want this to look like is with that corner piece that sticks in like a little fin. So what we need to do is we need to figure out, first of all, how is that designed to work, okay? And the way that I've designed it to work is that the right-hand curtain wall, if you're looking at the outside corner, the right-hand curtain wall is the one that gets that angle, right? So the left-hand curtain wall, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the mullions here. Select all mullions on grid line. I'm just going to delete those. All right. So then I'm going to come in and select these and replace them with that corner piece. Now the only one that I have is the 2 by 7.5. So I'll leave that up to you and Joppa. You guys can go and look at how that mullion is made. Okay, and adjust it to be a 6-inch depth profile instead of 7.5. Okay.
Basically, open up in the family editor and make a new one, and make a new version of it.
So all mullions are profile based, so you just have to edit the profile. You just have to understand what the origin means in relationship to the rest of the curtain. So I've got this, and what I got to do is, honestly, at this point, it's a matter of playing around with everything else to get it to join up. So all I did was I selected this mullion, and then I just started clicking these things up here until it did what I wanted it to. There we go. Make continuous. Seems to be the key button here. Make continuous. Nope, break it join for this one. Make continuous, break it join. So you just have to go and kind of click things, and then Revit. There are sometimes where Revit is like, oh, this is what they're trying to do. And then there's sometimes Revit's like, oh, this is what they're trying to do, and it gets it completely wrong.
Yeah.
So, but in this case, you're just going to have to play around with it.
What they should be trying to do.
Yeah. So when you do that up here, it's a matter of they need to be trimmed properly. So I use the trim tool to make sure that Where is it?
That work better on the plan view?
There should be a curtain wall here. There we go. And there should be one here. There we go. So I'm going to trim them up. And you don't want to do this until you have them in the right plane. So be sure you get them in plan view in the right place.
Where they're supposed to be.
With the wall. Yeah, with the mullions.
Okay.
All right. So be sure you get those first. All right. If it's not trimmed, then this will not work. All right. So you've already got that corner piece there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and see if... Oop. Okay, maybe it's this one. And I just crash Revit.
You did not.
Of course, that one's not going to work. So... I found the one that's not going to work.
There's always one that's not going to work.
There's always one. Probably means this whole thing.
One, you have to.
Oh, you know what? Which I don't know which. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to delete these, and this I'm going to hide, and we're going to add a mullion. I want to make sure that I have it on this one.
What's the key for hiding?
HI is what I have, and when I use hide, I use the it is not this one that I use for hide. This is a permanent hide. The hide that I have assigned to the keyboard shortcut is on the right click, hide and view elements. That's a temporary hide, which gives you this dialog right here.
I might do this HH.
That works also. But then, as long as it's temporary, I also have HR, which resets any temporary hides. And I have AH, which is apply hide, which now that's permanently hidden, like as if you were using the light bulb or sunglasses down there. All right, what was I doing? I was mullionating. Corner, do that right there. Okay, and let's see if we can get this to work. So for some reason, it's only.
Brendan from Panic at the Disco here. State Farm is making it easy to give back. Go to neighborhoodofgood.com.
Only doing the other side.
Yeah, it's only doing that side. Let's see if it has something to do with this right here. Oh.
Great things come in twos. There's Marge, George, Bob, and Burgers. Well, now
There we
there's
go.
a you're gonna love. Premium and Hulu. Get both together and you'll enjoy free offline music. Thousands of movies and shows like The Simpsons, Seinfeld, and The Handmaid's Tale.
Allow join. So you do have to have allow join turned on for this to work.
Then it's just $12.99 a month after.
Do you understand why I hid that in order to find it?
Yeah, because it's the
I was right clicking on this and it kept selecting the thing behind it.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So
Okay.
Yeah, apparently those little blue dots, you can tap through them as well.
Oh, it's 4 o'clock. I want to make you late to whatever.
No, it's okay. This seems to still. Oh, did we maybe?
Yeah, it's also
Allow join. There we go.
Did you disallow them to join?
I don't think I did, but it might have been the way that I made them. And I don't think Courtney would have. You didn't disallow join, did you?
No, I didn't even know you could do that with her. I guess it is a wall, so you can.
Yep. So I'm going to join those, and let's see if we can do this again. Continuous. But it's still only doing it. Oh, there we go. Now I'm all excited. I might actually be able to. Yep, I can select both of those and do make continuous, break, continuous. There we go. So that's what you're looking for there, and you see how it's sticking out over the edge right there. That's when you go in and you change the profile. It'll go in. You might actually even. I might have made it a parameter where you can actually go in and make a new type of that profile. I'll even just try that.
Okay.
in the family, in the project itself. What do you think? You catch all that? You think you can do that?
Yeah.
Did you have any other curtain wall questions?
Yeah,
Not yet. So what I was telling you about earlier, being able to make a panel a wall type. So if you want to get really fancy schmancy with your curtain walls, you can actually go in, like I did these, I put the wall underneath, but if I wanted to make this all one wall that moved together as a unit, I can select these panels and actually create
Make it a wall type
on that.
Why can't you do that in patient form?
So,
oh, that's pretty cool.
And you know, there's a mullion there, but I'm pretty sure that if I go in and clean all this up, it will actually make that wall join. And I think I just have to go in and, so like you can set the center offset. So if I did like 6 inches on that offset, there we go. Maybe just make it -4 inches. So now it's got a nice little lip right there. And then, you know, if I move, I don't have to move all those walls together. I just move that one wall, and it moves moves everything with it. So
with the corner being offset inside the building, you said all I would have to do is just change the parameters.
This right here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to go into the properties for the mullion. Edit type. You see that it uses a profile called Conair 1600 System 2 O corner profile. O I think is outside corner profile, 7.5 inch. I'm pretty sure that if you go look at that profile in the system browser,
we choose where.
Oh, apparently I turned mine off. Where's my browser? View, user interface, system browser. Not a system browser. Project. That's why I couldn't find it. PB, project browser. Down here, profiles, Conair 1600 O corner profile. There's a 7.5 inch. You can probably duplicate that. Let's look at the properties for that. Yeah, there's a depth, so you can probably just make that 6 inches, make the new profile, make the new mullion type using that profile, and it'll fix it. I'm gonna let you do that. See how it's done. Experience it. Or I'll let you and Joppa fight over who does that.
You do with the curtain wall. I'll do with that railing. I did dibs on the glass railing.
So, and then when you're done with that, the life safety plans, just basically it's just a matter of copying the information from the image. And those are in a PDF, by the way, in the resources folder under code research. It's Acme 1 PDF and Acme 2 PDF. Okay. So, all right. I'll tell you what. This time that we use for this, let's put about 3/4 of this time into training. Instead of a Tasco.
Okay. How much time was this?
2 hours.
2 hours? Yeah, that's about right. So put about 1.5 hours into training, and the rest of it into a Tasco.
Okay.
All right, I'm going to sync all that stuff so that you guys aren't locked out of everything that I just did. What is Jinx High School calling me?